Passwords are everywhere, from work to home, on our phones, tablets, and computers. We use them all the time, and sometimes we even forget them. With more and more people working and learning from home, accessing important information like bank accounts and such from electronic devices is becoming more commonplace. Unfortunately, there are always people that want to obtain your important information. This is the Digital Prepper, and today I'm going to give you some ways to keep your password safe by managing them. Why is password management important? You use passwords to log into everything nowadays. From online banking to having food delivered to you, you always need to log into some sort of online portal in order to access these bits of information. Keeping them managed and safe is a good way to prepare by keeping your data safe from prying eyes. Phishing attempts. Some people want to try to steal your information. There are many YouTubers that do scam baiting videos to expose these types of people, but the bottom line is that lots of people get their passwords stolen every day. Their various accounts hacked and accessed, and information is taken from them. More and more people are now working from home, so it's very important to have a good method of managing your passwords, as some people use their computers or cell phones to access work information and personal information at the same time. If someone stole your passwords, these people could have access to both your work and personal information. Let's talk about some ways to effectively manage your passwords. Some of these will be more traditional than others, and as a person that works in the information technology sector, I'll be giving my own opinion and lists of benefits and disadvantages to each of these methods. Let's get started. This is basically writing your passwords down physically, whether that be in a book or on a sheet of paper. Most people would tell you not to do this. However, it is a legitimate way to manage your passwords if done correctly. One benefit to doing this is that if it is written down, you can take it, it's always on your person, and it won't be online. One of the disadvantages to this method is that if your handwriting is messy, you could look into your book and not be able to read any of the passwords that you've written down. It could also be misplaced or simply lost. Another disadvantage is that if it is stolen, someone would have access to all of your passwords. However, a way to mitigate this would be to, 1, only write down the passwords. Don't write down what they link to. If you have a hard time maybe remembering which password goes to what, you could code the passwords in a way that nobody would know. You can put down a password, put in a name of your favorite pet, and that maybe links to, in your mind, that's the password for your Hulu account, for example. With that, even if somebody does steal it, they won't know what password goes with what service before any person gets access to any of your accounts. This would be the same thing as writing it down in a normal journal. However, this would be virtual by typing it maybe in a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet on either your computer or mobile device. One of the benefits is that you can keep this information on your PC or on your mobile device. With everybody carrying around their mobile devices or computers everywhere, it would be a little bit more easier to have access to it rather than carrying around a notebook. One of the disadvantages to this is because it's on your PC, there would be a risk that if you did have some sort of virus or keylogger, or if somebody gained access to your PC somehow, it could get stolen and you wouldn't know about it. Another disadvantage to this is that it could be deleted or overwritten by either yourself or a third party, and if someone isn't careful, you could lose all of your data. In order to mitigate this, if you can, because it's a digital file, you can put a password on the file itself. I know we were just, talking about storing your passwords in this file, but this way, you would only need to remember the one file in order to have access to all of your files. This would also mitigate if somebody did gain access to your PC and took this file, as long as you put in a strong password on the file, they probably wouldn't be able to crack it open in order to get access to your information. Let's talk about saving to Google Chrome or some other internet browser. In my opinion, this is somewhat of a lazy person option. However, most people already do this and may not even know about it. For example, if you do have a Google account and you go to passwords.google.com, you'll be able to log in and see all of your passwords that are saved onto your Google account. This is not on your browser. This is actually in your Google account, and you would be able to see all of the passwords there. In certain cases, some people might not be logged into Google Chrome or the internet browser of their choice, and in which case, those passwords would be saved onto their local machine and not in the cloud. One of the disadvantages to this is because it is stored on the cloud, you would never know if somebody actually hacked your information. A lot of companies have data breaches, and it takes them a long time to come out to the public to tell people that their data has been breached. One of the other disadvantages to this is that if you were to, for example, log into your Google account on a public machine like a library, let's say you didn't log out. Somebody else would have access to all of the websites that maybe you have stored passwords on. They would be able to log in without being able to even have your password because it's stored on the cloud and it automatically fills it in. Because of that, just make sure that if you are logging into some sort of cloud account where you have your password stored on it, just remember to log out, or maybe don't use a public machine. In order to mitigate against this, keep passwords to sites that you don't go on as often stored on your browser. Just do not have the browser remember every single one of your passwords. You're just asking for trouble at that point. These are special applications that are designed to be the digital journal that I spoke about. However, these are supposed to be more secure. An example of this would be LastPass or Dashlane, for example. These pieces of software hold your passwords in a virtual vault that can communicate with your internet browsers to automatically place passwords where they need to be in order for you to log in. But they are also supposed to keep them safe. One of the benefits to this is that some of them are online, so they would be on the cloud. Some of them are offline and they're just local to your PC. You would be able to control the access to the applications. Most of these applications do encrypt your information and ask for you to create a master password to even access that whole sheet of passwords. You can also use these same tools to store more than just your passwords. You can also have them store things such as credit card information. One of the disadvantages to using these types of applications is that some of them are subscription based, so you would have to pay, for example, monthly for them. You can find open source software, which would technically be free. And you can also find certain pieces of software that might have a one-time fee to use. Some of these applications do store data on the cloud, so a third party would have access to your information. As a person in the information technology field and as a prepper, I would not want to give certain bits of information like their passwords, like their credit card information, to some third party. Another disadvantage to this is that it is on your PC, so it would have some of the same issues as the digital file journal, such as somebody being able to access your PC and potentially being able to take your information. Now, because these applications are supposedly supposed to be more secure, there theoretically shouldn't be any issue in regards to that, but you can never be too careful. And finally, again, you are giving a third party access to your information. They would be able to store that information, use it, or if they get hacked, you might not know about it. It is similar to having it stored on your Google account, for example. So again, if you're worried about having an outside source, having access to all this information, this might not be the option for you. In order to mitigate against this, you really just need to do your research on what application would be right for you, or if you even want to have this type of application be used. Finally, you can use the same login information for every single site that you use. That's easy. You could just remember one password for every website, right? No, just don't do this. If your login information gets stolen, hackers do tend to use any working login credentials on any website. They already assume that you use one password for every website, so that's the first thing that they're going to try. You would just be begging to get everything stolen from you using this method. And if you do this and you know your information was stolen, well, I hope you enjoy logging into every single service and changing all of your passwords all over again. What's worse, many services like banks require you to call into their support line in order to get this updated in a prompt manner. So if this happens during busy hours or worse, outside business hours, it could take even longer to get in contact with somebody to get this changed. And meanwhile, somebody has access to all of your information and is doing whatever it is that they want to do with it. Some other tips and tricks that you can use to manage your passwords is you can use a combination of all of these methods to keep your passwords safe. You can use a handwritten journal to store your passwords physically, while you store some of your passwords on your internet browser to make it a little bit easier on yourself to log into certain websites. You can also use other methods along with this, like you can take a digital version of your passwords, put it on a flash drive, and store it in a safe, just for safekeeping. If you are given the option, a lot of websites have two-factor authentication. This can cause a little bit of a delay with logging in because it'll shoot a code over to your phone, which you then have to put in. But your data will be a lot safer in case one point fails, like somebody has breached your password. This should not be your only line of defense because it is not perfect, but it's certainly better than not having it turned on at all. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you've learned something or not. And if you have any digital prepping questions that you would like addressed in a future video, comment down below. More digital prepping to come.